Joe Burrow is one of the brightest young stars in professional football. His swagger and gritty determination have made him one of the most well-liked athletes of his generation. From being overlooked as a college quarterback to winning a national championship and being drafted #1 overall, Burrow transformed himself from an underdog story to a revered NFL superstar. But how did his high school dominance in both football and basketball prepare him for a lifetime of success? Looking back at his high school highlights, we see how Burrow's multisport talents, athletic lineage, gritty determination, and pure dominance on the field set him up for an illustrious career. Let's dive in to what made Joe Burrow great. Burrow eventually became one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation, but his defensive background gave him a leg up on the competition. It helped elevate his physicality and game awareness to the next level. Burrow stemmed from an athletically gifted family. His dad, uncle, and 2 brothers played college football. His grandpa played basketball at Mississippi State, and his grandma set a Mississippi high school state basketball record with an 82-point game. His dad and brothers played on the defensive side of the ball, and even though Burrow eventually became a quarterback, he still had those defensive roots. He would even step in on defense if his team needed it. In the playoffs his senior year, Athens High School needed a physical corner, and Burrow was the man for the job. They went on to win the game 41-20, and Burrow helped seal it with a late interception. Burrow's defensive upbringing also taught him to be a physical threat on the offensive side of the ball. He wasn't afraid to throw blocks for his running backs or get outside of the pocket. If that wasn't enough, Burrow would occasionally show off his receiving skills too. As a young player, coaches raved about Burrow's football IQ, knowledge he developed thanks to being around the sport from a young age. His understanding of defenses helped him learn opposing schemes faster. In fact, he threw only 17 interceptions his entire high school career and just 2 during his senior year. While Joe would ultimately focus on football after high school, he also got his family's talents on the basketball court. He was a 4-year varsity basketball player, and a great one too. Burrow scored 1,426 points in high school, the second most in Athens high school history. He won 3 sectional titles, 3 league titles, and notched 8 double-doubles over his 4-year career. Instead of graduating early to enroll at Ohio State, Burrow chose to stay for his senior basketball season. It paid off as he averaged nearly 20 points per game and earned first-team All-State honors that year, leading Athens to a 22-3 record. Just 8 days after playing in the Ohio High School Football Championship, Burrow was right back on the court, helping Athens win their home opener. During the summer before his freshman year at Ohio State, Burrow attended a passing camp in the morning before his mom drove him 175 miles to the historic Hoosier Gym where he played in a summer league basketball game that evening. Burrow's high school coach, Jeff Skinner, believes Burrow could have played D1 basketball too. Skinner felt that Burrow was tracking towards being at least a mid-major player, especially if he devoted himself to basketball the same way he did football. Being from Ohio, Burrow loved watching LeBron James, but unlike LeBron, Burrow ultimately chose football over basketball. Burrow is now undoubtedly one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, but he had to fight for his spot every step of the way. In fact, Burrow wasn't even on the varsity team during his freshman season, taking the helm for the freshman team instead. Ahead of him on the depth chart was senior Josh Skinner, the team captain. Skinner led Athens to the playoffs for the first time in nearly 2 decades, but lost in the first round. Little did the Athens coaches know that Burrow would surpass that mark in his first year as a varsity starter. Burrow stayed persistent, even though there was nothing ever handed to him. That grit eventually translated to the field, as he fought for every win, even when doubted. Once he earned the starting job, Burrow still faced adversity. Even after a wildly successful junior year, he had just one Division I offer from the University of Ohio, where his dad was a coach. Burrow led Athens to a 12-1 record during his junior season while throwing for 3,732 yards and 47 touchdowns. He also added 589 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. That year, Athens won every single regular season game by an average of 43 points. In his 2 playoff wins that season, Burrow scored a combined 12 total touchdowns, nearly 800 yards through the air, and 133 yards on the ground. In a second-round playoff game, Athens beat Tri-Valley in a 55-52 overtime thriller. After Tri-Valley kicked a field goal in overtime to take a 3-point lead, Burrow got the ball and stormed back with a game-winning touchdown run. Still, his phenomenal season wasn't enough to draw the eyes of many college recruiters. However, as we all know, those setbacks didn't stop Burrow from becoming a superstar. Even if Burrow was an underdog at times in his career, he certainly didn't play like it. After becoming the starting varsity quarterback his sophomore year of high school, he lost only one regular season game, his first career start. Burrow put on a show for 3 straight years, including 2 undefeated regular seasons. When it came time for playoff football, that's when he played at his best. It's an expertise he's carried into college and the pros, regularly coming up clutch in one-and-done scenarios. Burrow quickly became a force to be reckoned with once he became the varsity starter. He put up absurd stats, both through the air and on the ground. His first varsity win came in a 62-54 victory over Watkins Memorial, where he tallied over 450 total yards and 6 total touchdowns. He followed that up with another dominant performance with a 66-14 win over Warren, putting up 509 yards and 8 total touchdowns. These monster stat lines became routine for Burrow as he put on a show week in and week out. In his first year as a starter, Burrow led Athens to its first ever playoff win in school history, a 63-21 thumping of Circleville. He followed that up with a comeback win over Springfield Shawnee in the second round, the state runner-ups. Facing a 13-point fourth quarter deficit, Burrow stormed back, throwing a touchdown with 10 minutes remaining. He then embarked on an 82-yard touchdown drive to take the lead late. Burrow finished that game with 277 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air, but he also rushed for 110 yards and a touchdown on 22 carries. Burrow was a proven dual threat who opposing defenses struggled to game plan for. He compiled a stellar junior year as well, but he took his play to a whole new level during his senior season. His ascent to elite quarterback status that year yielded 16 additional D1 offers. Burrow threw for 4,445 yards and 63 touchdowns, with only 2 interceptions during his senior season. He added 642 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground as well. In the season opener against Galley Academy, the only school to ever beat him in the regular season, Burrow exacted revenge. He threw just 12 passes, but completed all of them for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 52-0 rout. He led Athens to an undefeated regular season for the 2nd straight year, an unprecedented accomplishment for the school. With Burrow at the helm, the team never scored less than 48 points that season. In his final playoff run, Burrow put on a show. In the first round, Athens took care of business, winning 65-15 against Granville. In the second round, Burrow sealed the game on defense, nabbing a late interception. The win clinched them a spot in the 3rd round for the 3rd straight year, which up to that point had been Burrow's kryptonite. This time around though, Burrow prevailed. He took the game into his own hands, throwing for 319 yards and 5 touchdowns, rushing for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns, and even catching his own pass for a receiving touchdown like we see here. Athens defeated St. Francis de Sales comfortably, 52-20, advancing to the 4th round for the first time. In the state semifinals, Athens went up against the 2-time defending state champion St. Vincent St. Mary, the high school where LeBron James rose to fame. Despite only having 7 points at halftime and trailing by 10 points with 8 minutes remaining, Burrow pulled off one of the biggest upsets in Ohio high school football history, beating St. Vincent St. Mary and sending Athens to its first state championship appearance in school history. He led a 6-play, 85-yard touchdown drive to take the lead with less than 2 minutes left to win the game. He finished the contest with 324 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, just another of many brilliant performances that year. He wasn't done yet though. In the championship against Toledo Central Catholic, Burrow put up another classic performance in an astounding back and forth game. There were 12 total lead changes, but unfortunately for Burrow, the last one went Toledo Central's way. They scored with 15 seconds left on a 4th and 1 from the 8-yard line to take a 56-52 lead and clinch the victory. It was a heartbreaking loss for Athens and Burrow. In the game, Burrow set Ohio's Division III state championship record for passing touchdowns with 6. He also set the passing yards record with 446 and the completions record with 26. After his magnificent senior season, Burrow won the Mr. Football Award and the Gatorade Player of the Year in Ohio. In February of 2015, Burrow signed with Ohio State, deciding to stay in-state for college. the future national champion and #1 overall pick finished his high school career with 13,483 total yards, 184 total touchdowns, and a 37-4 overall record. Before Burrow was ever a national champion or NFL star, he was dominating in high school. In just 3 years as a starting quarterback, he compiled one of the winningest careers we've ever seen, while also being a standout basketball player. His defensive, physical upbringing gave him the extra boost to rise above the competition as a multisport athlete. Even when he was doubted or faced adversity, Burrow never used it as an excuse. His 7 high school playoff wins foreshadowed a collegiate and professional career full of them. The Burrow name will live on forever in Athens, Ohio. Their football stadium was named after him in 2019.